So we are here at the fall feast, the feast of Yahweh, or the feast of the Lord as most know it. Um, how many of us really look forward to this particular feast? I know there are lots of holidays or set times or moeds that we look forward to, that we kind of like, we prefer, especially Pesach, because it's celebratory. We celebrate, we have family around, we get together. Sukkot, everybody is hanging out, sitting in the hut or a sukkah. There are people around. But Rosh Hashanah, we really don't like this feast, even though I said it's my favorite feast. When it comes to Rosh Hashanah, we call it Yom Hadin, meaning the day of judgment. A day on which Yahweh judges humanity. When you read some of the medieval poetry on the day, on the topic, you hear about angels trembling. You hear about Yah sifting through all of our deeds from the past year. You hear about being inscribed into one of these two books, the book of life or the book of death. I mean, it's enough to make you want to run for the fields. It's enough to make you want to not necessarily look forward to this feast. But how should we relate to Rosh Hashanah? What emotional stance should we take to it? Fear is one possibility based on what I've mentioned. But on the other hand, it kind of sounds like a terrible thing to just be trying to emotionally avoid the set time of Yahweh. Is that what we're supposed to be doing on this day? Because we make it so scary. Could we do any better than that? I think so. I think when we come to the clarity of what this feast is about, it really changes how we approach it, would actually run to this particular feast. Let's start by looking at some of the themes of what we've come to call Rosh Hashanah. We have a theme of Malkiot, which means Yahweh's kingship. That is crowning Yahweh king. We have the theme of Zikronot, which is remembrance. That is a day of remembrance. These are some of the themes. I won't call them names, but these are some of the themes of Rosh Hashanah. We have the theme of Shofrot, the blowing of the shofar, a day of the blowing of the shofar. And then, as most know it, Yom Hadin, day of judgment. This is the themes. This is how we have grown to know that this feast is called. But if we go all the way back to the 5 books of Moses itself, the Torah itself, does the description refer to the idea of a day of judgment at all? The answer will be no. Instead, the Torah characterizes Rosh Hashanah with just a couple of cryptic words. Leviticus 23 tells us, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, it shall be a Sabbath for you, a remembrance of the shofar blast, a holy occasion." So the text is telling us that this feast is actually what we call Zikron Teruah, a day of remembrance of the cry of the shofar. Now, when you read this, it really doesn't tell you anything. What exactly does that mean? It still just seems to be very ambiguous. A day of remembering the cry of the shofar. But whatever it means, we don't know. What are we supposed to do? It doesn't tell us. It certainly doesn't seem to say anything. It doesn't even mention it's a day of judgment. Now, if the Torah, we call it the day of judgment, if the Torah wanted to say it was the day of judgment, it should just come out and say it, that this is Yom Hadin, a day of judgment. But it almost seems as if there was some event that we were supposed to remember involving a shofar. An event that was so obvious that we are told to remember. A day that you know, a day that you are aware of. And the Torah is just telling you, a day of the cry of the shofar. It's like the Torah is saying, I don't need to give you details because you should remember. It's something that should never leave you. It's something that you should never forget. But when we read it, we're not getting that. What is so obvious to the Torah here that you and I aren't getting? A day of remembering the cry of the shofar, it tells us. It seems to take us back to some event. We are remembering this cry of the shofar that we once heard. What event was that?